In this tutorial, I'm going to share with you how I still maintain my full front length and my full back length without cutting it off. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Carol. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to cut an off shoulder top. Though it's a dress, but I'm going to be sharing the off shoulder parts with you guys. So the first thing I do is to fold my material. Then I measure the biggest part of either the bust or the waist. In this situation is the bust that is the biggest, which is 41 inches. So I'm going to divide it by 4 and I'm going to add 4 inches to it. So which is 41 divided by 4 is 10 quarter plus 4 inches is 14 quarter. So I first measure like this. So I mark my 14 quarter this way, then I fold back my material to cut out. Then for the front length, it is my full front length is 18 inches. So I'm going to measure out 18 inches while the back length is 16 inches. So I'll first measure out the 18 inches. So to be able to cut my full front length first before I'll cut the back length. Like I said, the back length is 16 inches. So I'll cut the front length first. I will mark it this way, measure it, then I'll square it out and cut it out. Then I'll cut for the back. So I'm going to cut the same thing. Then we will now start drafting. Okay, so one is going to serve for the front and one is going to serve for the back. Like I said, the front is 18 inches while the back is 16 inches. So the next thing I'm going to do is to subtract. When we are cutting an off-shoulder top or off-shoulder dress, depending on how off you want your dress, it can be 3 inches, it can be 4, it can be 5, it can be, but you should not go beyond 7 inches for your off shoulder. But in this case, I'll be using 4 inches. The next thing, I will mark my armhole depth, which is 9 inches. Then I'll mark my bust point, 11 inches. My under bust is 14 inches. Okay, so I've marked 4 inches off from the shoulder, my armhole depth 9 inches, my bust point, my under bust, and my full front length, which is 18 inches. So for the back, 16 inches. So I'm going to reduce it by 2 inches. Okay, the zip allowance I'm going to use is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to place my full front length off from the back by 1.5 inches. There are different ways to mark your off shoulder, but in this situation, what I'm going to do is to subtract 2 inches from my shoulder. My shoulder is 14 inches. So divide it into 2. The normal way we mark our shoulder, which is supposed to be 7 in this situation. If we divide our 14, so I'm going to subtract 2 inches from it to be able to mark neck width, which is 5 inches now. So I'm going to mark 5 inches. So guys, I would have subtracted if I was cutting directly. I wouldn't have added this, but for the beginners among us, so that they can get the clear picture, that's why I'm doing all this. So this is the off shoulder line. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to mark my bust divided by 4, so which is 10 quarter. Okay, so I will join this from this. The nipple to nipple measurement is what I'm going to mark next, which is 8 inches. Divide into 2 is 4 inches, plus half an inch is 4.5. So I'm going to mark my 4.5 inches. I'm going to mark it on my armhole depth, my bust point, under bust, and the full front length. Okay, from this under bust and the full front length, I'm going to subtract 1 inch from this side. Okay, so I'm going to connect. So the next thing I'm going to remove is 2.5 inches, because this person has wider back but not that big bust. So in such, I'm going to use what I use for medium for this person. So I'm going to remove 2.5 from this place. So I'm going to mark 2.5 here. Then I'm going to mark 2.5 here. Then I'm going to connect. So my princess cut is coming towards the ankle. So from here to here, I'm going to divide into 2. I will mark, then I will connect to the bust point using my free hand. Then from here, I will move 1 inch up. So I will connect it to this line, not directly to this again. So I'll move this 1 inch out this way. Okay, the neck that I want is sweetheart neck, which is going to be 7 inches from the shoulder. But I'm not going to cut the neck out. To avoid gaping, I'm going to sew it first. After sewing is when I'm going to cut the neck line out. So the next thing is to add my sewing allowance, mark for my bust, my under bust, my waistline. Now my under bust is 35 inches, so I'm going to divide 35 inches into 4, which is 8/4. So I'm going to mark my 8/4. Then this 2.5 inches, I'm going to add it to this point. 2.5, I'm going to add 2 inches sewing allowance. Okay, now for the waistline is 37 inches, which is 9/4. I will mark, I'll add this 2.5 inches back, then add 2 inches. Okay, so I'll connect. For the bust area, remember we have marked our 10/4. I'll add this to it, which is 0.5 inches plus 2 inches sewing allowance, which is 2.5 inches. So I will connect. So I'll connect this 1 inch that I move out. I will connect it back to this point. There was a tutorial I did. A subscriber asked me that can she use the same length for her dress? Can she use the same length? Because I have difference between the front length and the back length. I told her yes, she can do that, but she must use the back length, because if she used the front length, by the time she sew her dress, the back is going to have gaping at the zip level at the waistline. So in such situation, she has to use the back length, which is 16. Now what this causes to some clients, they don't like it because now this 16 is closer to the under bust in the front area, so they always say it is like as if it is short. So what next do you need to do? You still need to use your front length if you want to, but you can always use the back length if you want to. So what I would do here is, what I normally do is either I will now, this back length, I will connect it this way and cut it out. If you wish to, you cut it out, so your back and your front will be equal. But in this style that I'm sewing, sorry guys, the video went off along the line. I didn't know that the battery was short and the video went off. But as I was saying, I said this point, you see the marking, that I'm going to sew it as a bust dart. I'm going to sew mine as a bust dart, but if you wish, you can cut it off. So that's what I said. Then for the back, I reduce 0.5 inch from this one, and I reduce 1/4 inch. You can see it by placing it together, because there's always a gaping at the arm off at the back too. So you remove the 1/4 inch, then you remove 0.5 inch as the dart for the owner of the back too. So by the time we will now sew everything together, we will tighten it up at the zip area. So that's what we're going to do. And I said for the neckline, after sewing is when I'm going to cut the neckline. That's what I normally do to reduce gaping, so that it will be firm on the chest. And then also, what did I say in the video? I said by the time I sew my bust darts, you will not see the sewing again, because I'm going to place my lace. I would have cut the lace and placed on it. So by the time I place the lace, you will not even see the darts that I have sewn. And what it does is that it adds some volume to the bust area. So that is that. I've sewn the darts, guys, as you can see. You could see the volume it gives the bust area. You see how developed it is, than being flat. So this will add up to the bust area and give it more volume. So guys, the next thing is for us to cut, to sew it up, then cut the neckline and show you how I cut my neckline after sewing, so that it will not gape. So you can see I've sewn my bust dart. See, maintain my bust dart without attaching it to the lace. So as you can see in this, you can see that this is 18. This is for the front. This is an off shoulder. I've already cut it, and I'm still maintaining my length. While the back, as you can see, is 16. So I subtracted 4 inches. So as you can see,